What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Shaw Sports Talk. On today's episode, we'll be solely diving into the first official week of college football because boy was it a crazy one. Let's go. Look at the Friday night game. I'm talking about primetime Deion Sanders Colorado Buffaloes versus the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I actually flew in and was in attendance for this game. My boy Cooper Lovelace, he's a center for the Colorado Buffaloes. I went to go see him play. Plus, 2 years ago, one of my favorite places I ever played at was the Colorado Stadium at Folsom Field. So I wanted to get back and kind of see it through a fan perspective. And boy, did it live up to the hype. Given that I was in attendance for this game, I can honestly tell you that it really made me miss playing the game of football. I mean, this game had a big-time feel to it. It was Friday night. It was under the lights. It was raining, not too much, just the right amount. It was packed. It was a stripe out. I mean, legends in the building were in the building like Randy Moss. I mean, they had a sick flyby to start the game. And once the game got going, this stadium was rocking. Now, coming into this game, I did have a lot of questions and I did have a lot of concerns with the Colorado Buffaloes. And my reasons were this. First, no more Shedeur Sanders. Second, no more Travis Hunter. And thirdly, head coach Deion Sanders was dealing with an awful lot in the offseason. Now, I'm sure everybody's aware of what Deion's been dealing with, but just in case you need a reminder, earlier in this offseason, head coach Deion Sanders was diagnosed with bladder cancer and had to get his bladder totally removed. And he said that this has been the biggest fight of his life. Playing in the NFL, playing in college, that stuff was easy compared to fighting this cancer. And I can tell you the type of toll this takes on a man. My father's been battling cancer for years now, and luckily by the grace of God, he's been whooping this thing's ass. But it's an everyday fight. I mean, my father has to get up and go through a 4, 5, 6 hour routine every single morning just to stay on top of this thing. And I know if I brought my father onto the show, he would talk about just how impressive it is that Deion's dealing with this cancer, battling this cancer, and continuing to coach the Colorado Buffaloes. And while this is super impressive and we're definitely pulling and praying for head coach Deion Sanders, we still got to ask the question, did he have enough energy and did he have a good enough supporting cast around him to get his guys ready for week one? And overall, when you look at their season opener against Georgia Tech, I can honestly say I think they were prepared for this game. I think Deion had them ready for this game. I think his coaching staff had their guys ready for this game. But at the end of the day, they just made too many critical mistakes. Let's talk about them. The first problem with the Colorado Buffaloes when looking at this game is they didn't capitalize on the turnovers enough. I mean, my girlfriend and her friends went up to the concession stands at the beginning of this game to get some food. And by the time they came back down, Georgia Tech had turned the ball over 3 times. And Colorado only capitalized on one of them. The first turnover was a fumble, and Colorado did a nice job. They went right down the field, and new quarterback making his first start for the Buffaloes, Caden Salter, threw a nice little pass, got outside the pocket, threw a nice little pass for a touchdown. So they capitalized on that first one, and you're sitting in the stands talking about, here we go, this is going to be a good game.
He's set here. Salter on third down and short. With time, everybody covered. Salter gonna fire into the end zone. And it's pulled in for a touchdown by...
And then Georgia Tech comes out and turns the ball over again. Another fumble. And you're sitting here talking to yourself saying, okay, if Colorado can go put some points on here, they're really going to put Georgia Tech in a vulnerable position. But they don't capitalize. And this really hurts because they had great field position and they definitely should have walked away with some points. And then a few drives later, it could have been the next drive. Can't really remember. My CTE's kicking in. But anyway, the Georgia Tech quarterback, Haynes King, throws a pick. So now it's their third turnover. And they also have good field position with this one as well. But Colorado does the same thing. They don't capitalize. And I'm telling you, you got to make teams pay for turning the ball over. You can't go 1 for 3 when a team has 3 turnovers. You have to find a way to at least go 2 for 3 in that situation. I mean, turnovers and capitalizing on turnovers is how you win football games. And Colorado simply just didn't capitalize enough on their opportunities. Now, looking at the next problem for the Buffaloes, and this is by far the biggest problem they had, was they couldn't stop the run all night long. I mean, when you give up 320 rushing yards, you do not deserve to win a football game. When I was at Ohio State, even when I was at USC, they talk about stopping the run every single day. If you want to win the game, you got to stop the run. And when I was at Ohio State, if we gave up a yard over 100 yards rushing, one of our team goals was don't give up over 100 yards rushing. But if we did, there was a problem to pay for it. There was a price to pay for doing that. Now, the Yellow Jackets have always been known for being able to run the football. They've always had a good run scheme, and they always will have a good run scheme. And then when you add a dynamic player like quarterback Haynes King, it really presents some problems for a defense. But the bottom line here is that the Colorado Buffaloes got dominated at the line of scrimmage. I mean, by the time these ball carriers were getting tackled, it was up at the second and third level. I mean, this ball was getting up to the linebackers and the safeties way too quickly. Eventually, the Georgia Tech coaches figured out that Colorado's defense can't stop the run, and they went all in on the run game. And it was about the second or third quarter, Georgia Tech was getting 5, 6, 7 yards per carry, and I knew this thing was cooked. I said to my friends, Georgia Tech's going to win this game. Colorado can't stop the run, and that's exactly what happened. Listen to these total yards rushing, and listen to these yards per carry. Quarterback Haynes King, 19 carries, 156 yards, 8.2 yards per carry. Running back Jamal Haynes, 16 carries, 65 yards, 4 yards per carry. Malachi Hosley, 7 carries, 47 yards, 6.7 yards per carry. Eric Rivers, 17 yards per carry. Malik Rutherford, 13 yards per carry. Bailey Stockton, 5 yards per carry. I mean, you cannot win a game. And what those stats tell me right there is that exactly what I said earlier. The defensive line wasn't impacting the run game enough. And by the time these guys were making the ball was up to the second, third level. The ball was getting to the linebackers and the safeties just way too quickly, like I said. And in the end, that's ultimately what killed him. I mean, Georgia Tech goes on a game-winning drive, and with about a minute left, quarterback Haynes King does a Q counter. Counter is anytime you see 2 pullers. It could be 2 offensive linemen, it could be an offensive lineman and a tight end, or teams get really creative, do an offensive lineman and a receiver. Anytime you see 2 pullers, that's counter. 1 puller is power. They run quarterback counter, it hits for a home run. Haynes King, game-winning touchdown with about a minute left in the game.
Game against Florida State last year in Ireland on a walk-off field goal. Will he be in a similar situation? Tech has some work to do. King keeping it. First down and more. King breaks free. Past the 20. He'll take it all the way. Touchdown, Georgia.
And this brings us to our third and final problem, and probably the hottest topic in the public: clock management. When Georgia Tech scored the go-ahead touchdown with a minute left, I honestly wasn't too concerned for the Colorado Buffaloes. I'm looking at the clock. Yes, they got a minute, but they got 2 timeouts. That's all the time in the world that you need to go ahead, go down the field, and tie this thing up. But once the drive got started, that was one of the most frustrating end of games, last drives I've ever seen in my life. The clock was going tick, tick, tick. And I sensed no urgency out of the Colorado offense. And even worse, they didn't utilize those 2 timeouts. I mean, the clock is ticking. This is your final opportunity to go tie this game up. Freaking call a timeout, draw up a play, save some time, but they don't. They let the clock run out, they lose the game, and they walk away with 2 timeouts in their pocket. And I just think that's unacceptable, and it was really surprising to see, especially with a coach of the caliber of Deion Sanders. And the Colorado Buffaloes fall to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets 27-20. And I think moving forward that Georgia Tech's going to be a good team. They can really run the football, and they got a good scheme. And I think moving forward for the Colorado Buffaloes, they're going to be able to bounce back and learn from this. They got to clean some stuff up. They got to get that defensive line going. But I think Colorado's going to be just fine. Alrighty, now it's time to shift our focus to the great state of Florida. Because when it comes to football, that state is buzzing right now. The U is officially back. Florida State's chopping away. And USF beat the shit out of Boise State. Let's get into it. Okay, we're going to work our way backwards here. So let's start with the Sunday night game. The University of Miami versus Notre Dame. And I tell you what, if I could pick one player that impressed me the most, one player that really earned my respect coming out of the weekend, it would definitely be quarterback Carson Beck. And here's why. Listen, nobody really understands the pressure that these kids go through. And I can tell you this, transferring from school to school is really not easy, especially when you had a lot of success, but a lot of learning moments as well at the previous school you were at. I feel like I can really resonate with Carson Beck for multiple reasons, and I really understand the situation he's kind of in. First off, I started at the Ohio State University, and he started at the University of Georgia. Two big-time programs. Now, I was a safety, and he was a quarterback, but you'll see how this is the same situation. I found a lot of success at the Ohio State University. I started in games. I was Big Ten honorable mention, and he found a lot of success at the University of Georgia. Started in a lot of games. I don't know all of his accolades there, but he did find a lot of success at Georgia. But at the same time, we both found struggles, and we both found moments that we needed to learn from, and we both decided to start fresh. I went to the University of Southern California. He goes to the University of Miami. And I can tell you, when you transfer from school to school, there's two things that you have on your mind. One, proving the people that doubted you wrong, and two, learning from those mistakes that you made at your previous school, correcting them and not making them again, and just being the best version of yourself at your new school. Now, I know it's early and I know it was only one game, but after that game, Carson Beck proved a lot of people wrong, first, and second, he looked like he learned from all of his mistakes at the University of Georgia, and he looked phenomenal, both on and off the field. Looking at his on-the-field play first, this dude was as good as it gets. First off, he was very smart. No dumb mistakes, no dumb turnovers, didn't try to force anything, just took what the defense gave him. Next, he was very accurate and very efficient. He was 20 of 31 with 205 yards and 2 touchdowns, and somewhere in that game, he completed 12 straight passes. And then finally, he made big-time plays when he needed to. One of those plays, he had a lot of pressure coming into his face. No diddy. He moves out of the way, moves off the line, and hits a fadeaway right in the bucket to Tony for a touchdown. He was just everything you were hoping to be in his first start for the Miami Hurricanes. But what I really loved the most about Carson Beck Sunday night was his off-the-field leadership. This is something I'm not sure if he had at the University of Georgia. So when I talk about learning from your mistakes and kind of becoming that best version of yourself at the new school, this is why I really feel like he did that. Because he did have that dog in him. He had that fire. He had that passion. He had that leadership. Every time the camera cut to him while he was on the sideline, this dude was talking to his guys. He was getting his guys fired up. When plays were being made on the field, he was showing that fire, like I said. He was getting excited for his teammates, getting excited for himself. And what I really, really love, this is what really stood out to me. I'm not sure if this is exactly what he said. I'm going out on a limb, but this is what it kind of looked like he was saying to me. When Notre Dame got the ball with, late in the game with a chance to go tie the game up, they cut to Carson Beck on the sideline, and he's sitting on the bench, and it just looked like he was saying, compete, compete, compete. That's what it looked like he was saying to me. He could have been saying something else, but either way, he was saying something along the line of that. And that just shows me where his head's at, where his mental state is at right now. This dude's in it to win it. He's in it. He's got some fire under him, and I can't wait to see where he goes from here. He just looks like a very happy guy, and I got to tell you what. If I was a quarterback and I had this receiving core making plays for me, like his receiving core was making plays for him Sunday night, I'd be fired up as well. We got to start with wide receiver C.J. Daniels because that catch he made at the end of the first half was one of the biggest plays of the entire weekend. When I was at Ohio State, we always talked about winning the middle eight. And what the middle eight is the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. And what Miami does is they go on a big-time drive, they kick the ball to start the game, and now they're going to get the ball to start the second half. So it's the end of the first half, couple minutes left, they go on a big-time drive, and C.J. Daniels, with a couple seconds left in the half, makes a huge one-handed catch for a touchdown. Now Miami's got all the momentum going into halftime, and they're getting the ball to start the second half, and this really, really puts a lot of pressure on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So we got to start with wide receiver C.J. Daniels.
It's 12 for 19 total. Under pressure, off his back foot, up for grabs, and caught! C.J. Daniels, a tremendous one-handed catch.
And then next, it looks like we got a young superstar in our hands. I'm talking about Kadarius Toney's little brother, Malachi Toney. In the game, he had 6 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown. He was tough all night long, and he made some big-time plays and big-time catches. He made the catch where he's running across the field, and Beck was fading away from pressure, throws it up. He comes back to the ball, grabs it, scores a touchdown, and this is how I know the U's back, because when he scores, he throws up the rakes, he throws up GDK, gang signs, and let's be honest, that's how you know the U's back, when you got guys throwing up gang signs after making big-time plays.
He's covering C.J. Daniels at the bottom of your screen, under pressure for Willie Amuasa, and it is caught! Malachi Toney, a touchdown!
So this Miami Hurricanes offense looked absolutely phenomenal, but I got to be honest with you. Head coach Mario Cristobal did everything he could to give this game to Notre Dame, to give this game away. He got way too conservative, way too early, and if he does it again, it's going to bite him. even in the last drive. I mean, he totally shut down the offense, totally shut down the playbook. He does 3 straight runs right up the middle. They don't get the first down. They got to settle for a 47-yard field goal with plenty of time left for Notre Dame to go down and tie this thing up. And if they miss, Notre Dame's going to go down and score and win the game. So I don't know what he was thinking doing this, but I do believe in Cristobal. I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's going to get this conservative when he's in this situation again next time. I think he's going to keep the pedal to the metal and trust Beck to get the game done. But yes, just way too conservative, way too early. And like I said, if he does it again, it's going to cost him.
They have not trailed tonight. What a kick! Good! From four.
With that being said, I do got to give Mario Cristobal major props for something. Not something he did in this game, but something he did in the offseason. And that's bringing in new defensive coordinator Corey Hetherman from the University of Minnesota. This Hurricanes defense looks severely improved from the 2024 season. And in Hetherman's first coaching performance, he holds the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to under 100 yards rushing and holds one of the best running backs in the country, Jeremiah Love, to just 33 yards rushing. And I can tell you, doing that is not easy because Jeremiah Love is a freak and Notre Dame's got some real deal linemen on that offensive side of the ball. So that's a major first key win for Corey Hetherman. And then finally, Corey Hetherman had this defensive line rolling. And the first sign of a good defensive line is when they can put games to bed. When I was a freshman at Ohio State, we had defensive end Chase Young. And anytime we were in a close game, late in the game, Chase Young was going to get a sack to put the game away. That's what good defensive line units do. They put the game away. And that's exactly what we saw with the Miami Hurricanes. The Notre Dame Irish get the ball back with a chance to tie or win the game. But what happens? The Miami Hurricanes defensive line sacks them again. Clock runs out. Game over. Hurricanes win 27-24.
2nd and 17. He's going down again. Akeem Messidor.
Now, looking at the flip side, if you're a Notre Dame fan, I don't think you get too upset or go jumping off the boat after this performance. I mean, they played this Miami Hurricanes team very close. It was C.J. Carr's first start, and he looked great. He played really tough. He's only going to get better. Coach Freeman is as good as it gets. This team's going to keep climbing. Notre Dame's going to be just fine, and hopefully we can see this rematch in the playoffs or something like that because that would be hectic. Next on the list, we got the Florida State Seminoles running through the Alabama Crimson Tide because that's exactly what they did. I can't think of a team that had a harder 2024 season than the Florida State Seminoles. I mean, they were 2-10 and averaged 15 points a game. If you're a big-time fan of the Seminoles, they probably had you ready to jump off a ledge. And following that 2024 season, head coach Mike Norvell, who many thought was going to get fired but didn't, goes and cleans house and brings in all new coordinators. And for his offensive coordinator, he brings in Gus Malzahn, who's former Auburn Tiger head coach when that offense was rolling. And then on the defensive side of the ball, he brings in Tony White, who is the defensive coordinator for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now, with his staff in place, all the pressure is on head coach Mike Norvell this year. If they lose this season, he's gone. There's no cleaning house again. If they lose, he is done. But with that being said, all credit to Coach Mike Norvell because he had his guys firing against Alabama. And Gus Malzahn was drawing all types of crazy schemes up. And Tony White was dialing up the heat against that Alabama offense. As a defender myself, I can tell you that there's 3 things the offense can do to really make your job hard. First, that's pre-snap motion. Me as a safety, I got to communicate everything. And every time there's a motion, I got to re-communicate something. Second, misdirection. You got guys pulling one way, other guys pulling the other, and messes with your eyes and really makes you hesitate. And then third, a running quarterback, a dual threat quarterback. When you can get a quarterback really going in the run game, it adds another element that you got to be concerned about, and it makes you that much slower in your reads and in your processing. And all I can say is I'm glad I wasn't on that Alabama defense because Gus Malzahn is the king of this stuff. He does a lot of pre-snap motion. He does a lot of misdirection. And if you give him a quarterback who can add value in the running game, watch out. There's one play in this game that really captures who Gus Malzahn is, and that's the explosive run for a touchdown by Mekhi Danzey. Now, he's got pre-snap motion going like he loves to do. Then, once the play is snapped, it looks like it's going to be counter. You remember when I said anytime you see 2 pullers, it's counter. 2 offensive linemen start pulling. One of them peels back, stops his pull, continues off to the left. Then as this is going on, a receiver is coming from behind. Tommy Cassiano fakes the zone read, flips it to Danzy, who's flying. You got guys going everywhere. It's chaos. If I was a safety, I would have been like, what the fuck is going on? What is going on? And by the time they realize what's going on, Danzy, who's a track star, a speedster, is flying down the sideline for a touchdown.
Bill O'Brien takes that job, and then he reunites here with Malzahn. Here is Danzy now, and look at Mekhi Danzy. How about it, Knowles?
I mean, Gus Malzahn had that Alabama defense lost in the sauce all night long. They didn't know what the hell was going on. And this Florida State Seminole team rushes for 230 yards. I think this offense is going to be one of the toughest offenses to play in the country moving forward because you have Gus Malzahn, who's a great play caller, but then you pair him with a quarterback like Tommy Castellano, and this is a deadly, deadly combo. I mean, in this game, Castellano was 9 of 14 with 152 yards thrown, extremely efficient. And then in the run game, he had 16 carries for 78 yards, almost a 5-yard average. And if I didn't give my game ball to Carson Beck, it was going to Tommy Castellano for the same reasons. Because on the field, they both played really well, and off the field, they were both alphas, they were both leaders, and they both played with extreme passion and energy and fire. And Tommy Castellano is a warrior, and I cannot wait to watch him moving forward and can't wait to watch him in big-time games because this dude is a dog. Now, when looking at this defense, they played phenomenal. They held the Alabama Crimson Tide to 87 yards rushing. They got after Ty Simpson, the quarterback, all game long, sacked him 3 times, applied pressure all game. But this is what really stood out to me. And it was the overall passion, the overall swag, the energy, the togetherness, the cohesiveness. I mean, this defense looked really, really good. And I got to tell you, one of my favorite season openers I ever watched was in 2023 when the Florida State Seminoles played the LSU Tigers. And they ran the ball with power, like that team was a physical football team. That's what I'm trying to say. That FSU team was a physical, dominant football team in 2023. In 2024, forget about that team. But in this 2025 season opener against the Crimson Tide, on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball, they look like that physical, tough team. I think Florida State's back, and I think we're going to be doing a lot of this season. And they defeat the Alabama Crimson Tide 31-17. And I'm going to talk about what I think about Alabama right now because it's not good. Okay, definitely had to calm down a little bit after that last little section because when I talk about that Florida State team, it gets me fired up. When Florida State's playing good, they are very physical and very dominant, and it really just gets me going. Now, looking at the Alabama team, I just can't say how disappointed I am. And it's not because they got out-schemed. It's not because they lost the game. I just didn't see any passion out there. And it really just rubbed me the wrong way, to be honest. Now, when I think about Alabama football, I don't think about the national championships they won, and I really don't think about Nick Saban. I think about the players who wore the uniform in the past. I'm talking about Reuben Foster, C.J. Mosley, Julio Jones, Jamison Williams, Devontae Smith, Derrick Henry. Those type of guys is who I think about. Now, all those players are listed are without a doubt some of the most talented players that ever play the game of college football. But the reason I listed them was not because of their talent. It was because of their competitiveness, because of their mentalities. I mean, let's just take Julio Jones, for example. We've heard Nick Saban talk countless times about how Julio Jones was the ultimate leader, the ultimate dog. He held his guys accountable every day in practice, every day in meetings, on Saturdays in the game. He was holding his teammates accountable. And I don't see anybody doing that on this Alabama football team in 2025. Now, I hate talking negatively about a guy, especially when I played and I know what it's like to hear somebody talking negatively about your performance when they're not the ones out there doing it. But I'm still going to do it. Ryan Williams, you can't drop the ball 3 times and then just kind of mope around on the field. You are that guy. You are the alpha, whether you like it or not, and you have to be the alpha. And I don't think he has that in him. Now, he is young. He's a second-year player, so maybe that hasn't come to him yet. But he's got to step up on the offensive side of the ball. He's the most talented guy on the offensive side of the ball. He's got to make big-time plays in big-time games. We saw it against Georgia last year, so he can do it. He can't drop the ball 3 times. I don't think he will again. But more importantly, he has to be that alpha. He's got to get his guys right when things aren't going well. And I didn't see that out of him on Saturday. And then on the defensive side of the ball, same thing. I mean, you guys are getting the ball ran down your throats. There's a play where a guy who gets tackled at like the 5, 6, 7 yard line and continues to carry the Alabama defense into the end zone. I mean, who's going to be the guy on the Alabama defense that says this can't happen to us? They got guys who can do it. I mean, Damani Jackson is a very talented player. They have guys on the defense line. They have talent all over the place. One of those guys has to step up and say, enough is enough. This is not going to happen to our defense. We're at Alabama, and it can't happen.
Salter straight ahead inside the 10, keeping his balance, getting help from his friends, finding his way to the goal line and in.
Okay, lastly, let's look at head coach Kalen DeBoer. Now, I really like Coach DeBoer. I think he's a 10 out of 10 person, and I think he's a 10 out of 10 coach. But there's two things here when talking about his coaching run at Alabama right now. First off, he started off in a major hole. Anytime you follow after one of the greatest coaches of all time, you're going to start off in a 10-foot hole, and that's where he was. Everybody's already against you, to be honest. And then secondly, he was at the University of Washington. He took them to the CFB. He took them to a national championship. But the University of Washington is not Alabama. Those are two entirely different beasts. And I was at Ohio State and I was at USC, and I can tell you Ohio State is a different beast. USC is a different beast. These blue blood programs are different beasts. And I don't know if he was fully prepared or fully ready for this beast in Alabama. The bottom line is this. Alabama football has two directions they can go right now. One, they can chalk it up to a miserable season ahead and say our coach is going to get fired. This is going to be a rough year. We're going to go down a tough time, and they can lose 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Or they can go down the other direction. Listen, we just lost to a good Florida State team because that Florida State team was good, like I just talked about. We can learn from this. We can rally. We can get better. We can go win next week. We can go win the week after that. Week by week, just get better and better and better. And then look up. Next thing you know, they're in the SEC title game. And I could see it going either way, so we're just going to have to wait and find out. Okay, now closing out the state of Florida. I'm going to quickly hit South Florida. I'm going to quickly hit the Florida Gators. I didn't have the chance to watch these two games, so I don't think it's fair for me to do a deep dive on a game I didn't watch. But looking at the stats for the South Florida-Boise State game, it's really interesting, and you'll see why. Total yards are damn near pretty much even, 378 to 372. Passing yards, 256 to 255. Rush yards to 117 to 122. So you're probably sitting there asking, how the hell did Boise State lose 34-7? And I didn't watch this game, but when you look at the stats, it kind of tells you the story. 3 fumbles lost for Boise State in comparison to 0 turnovers for South Florida. I mean, turnovers win games, turnovers lose games, and it looks like that's how Boise State lost this game and got blown out. And then lastly, I don't even feel like covering this game. I mean, I'm looking at this logo. You know when you look up on Google, University of Florida versus Long Island University Sharks? I mean, look at this. Hold on. Look at this shit right here. Look at this. They don't even have a logo for them. That's like the random whatever school they put in the college football game where they don't have the logo for them. I mean, that's just unbelievable. I don't know why University of Florida is playing teams that don't have logos. But the game leader for the University of for Long Island University for passing yards. Hold on, I gotta look at this. Yeah, I mean they had 86 total yards of offense. Long Island had 86 total yards of offense. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm not breaking down this game. And that concludes today's episode of Shaw Sports Talk. Now, for the Ohio State-Texas game, I did break it down in a previous video with my boy Steele Chambers, former Ohio State linebacker. You can go watch that at Shaw Sports Media on my YouTube channel. And then for the LSU-Clemson game, I did really want to break it down, but unfortunately it was a busy weekend and a busy start to the week, and I just couldn't get to it. So please do me a favor, hit subscribe and hit like, and let's go.